Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be looking at how to make a quadratic expression into a perfect square. And for those that may not understand what a quadratic expression is and what is the difference between a quadratic expression and a quadratic equation, where the quadratic expression, in a quadratic expression you don't really have to find out what is the value of the unknown. Unlike a quadratic equation, you will have to find out the value of the unknown. You have to calculate what the value of the unknown is. But for a quadratic expression, most times you just factorize and simplify. Now, for today, we're looking at how to make a quadratic expression into a perfect square. I'm going to use these two examples on the board to help us do that. Now, the first example says what must be added to the expression to make it a perfect square. And we have the first question there. The first example is giving us x squared plus 6x, while the second one says d squared minus 5d. Now, in order for you to express a quadratic expression as a perfect square, what you must do is you add the value of half the coefficient of x or any letter that you're given. Like in this case, we have an x, but here we have a d. So you add the value of half the coefficient of x or any letter you're given raised to power 2. Raised to power 2. And let me quickly do that for you so you understand better what I'm saying. So now I want to turn this expression into a perfect square. So what do? I write the expression, right? X squared plus 6x. Then I now add the value of half the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x here is 6. So I can put that in brackets. I add half the coefficient of x raised to power 2. You see that? Half the coefficient of x raised to power 2. I know that 6 divided by 2 will give you what? 3. So now, here when you divide 6 by 2, it gives you what? 3 square. 3 raised to power 2, that is 3 square. So now when you now expand 3 square, you're going to get 9. So based on the question we have here, 9 must be added to this expression to make it a perfect square. So now this equation is now a perfect square. So 9 is the number you add to this expression to make it a perfect square. If you want to now go further as to solve this expression, you have to solve it using factorization method. You look for two numbers that when you multiply together it gives you what? 9. But when you add it together it gives you 6. Those two numbers are 3 and 3 plus 9. Collect you group it in twos. You have x squared x plus 3. Write it properly. Then here, collect the term, which is 3x 3. You can see that these two are the same. They are the same. So what do? You now write this plus this first. So it's not x squared, it's x. Sorry, this is x. So now write this, which is x plus 3 plus 3. You now choose one of these, which will be x plus 3. And you can see that these two are the same. So a short form of writing this and this, we just be writing it as x plus 3 square. So that is if you're asked to what? Solve the expression. But at this point here, you've answered the question that says what must be added to the expression to make it a perfect square. The answer here is 9. 9 must be added, and you've seen how you got the 9. We divided the coefficient of x by 2, and we now raised it to power 2 and get the 9. Then now I went further to solve it. By solving it, I now got this. Okay, so you have to know the difference when they ask you what must be added to the expression to make it a perfect square. This is where it ends. But when you see now solve the expression, you now end here. Now let's go to the second question. It says we should turn what must be added to rather d square minus 5d to make it a perfect square. What must be added to d square minus 5d to make it a perfect square? So we'll do the same thing that we did here. Wrote d square minus 5d. So what did I do here? I now add the value of the coefficient of d divided by 2 and the whole thing squared. But the coefficient of d here is not 5, it is minus 5. So take note of that. Both the sign and the coefficient really matter. So I'm going to add minus 5. That is the coefficient of d. I divided by 2 and I square the whole thing. So now in this case, you can see that 5 cannot be divided by 2. So what do? You now square what is inside here, which is minus 5 over 2. That will lead us to write d square minus 5d. Then we now square what is here, which is minus 5 over 2 times minus 5 over 2. Minus and minus will give us a plus. 5 times 5 will give you 25, and 2 times 2 will give you 4. So at this point, this is now a perfect square. It is now what? A perfect square. Because this is the number that must be added to this expression to make it a perfect square. So at this point, you've answered this question. But now, if you want to go further, if, for example, if they said, solve this expression. Now, usually, what they will ask you to do is to, if you want to solve this expression, you multiply all through by 4. When you multiply all through by 4, it will cancel this fraction. It will get rid of the fraction. So if you say multiply all through by 4, multiply all these by 4, you're going to get something like 4d squared minus 20d plus 25. Now, if you are to try to factorize this expression, you're going to have a very, very tough time to do that, because not all quadratic expressions can be factorized by the method we used here. Now, if you say, okay, what are the two factors that can give you minus 20, but that's when you add them, but when you multiply them, we give you 100. You won't be able to get any such factor. You won't be able to get any such factor. But there's an easier way for you to do that. That is to get this expression to be simplified or factorized. And that is by using a formula. And that formula that you use is simply x plus b all over 2 and the whole thing squared. This is the formula that you use to factorize any expression that you cannot easily factorize with the normal method. Like in this method I used here, I look for two factors that when I add it together, I give you 6x, but when I multiply, it gives you 9. It's very, very clear. But in this expression, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to factorize using this method. So what do? You now use this formula to factorize what we have there. Now, x here will be your letter d. So here it will be like d plus b all over 2. And we know what b stands for. B is the coefficient of this d here. You know, in your quadratic form, we have something like ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, this is the highest power, while this is the power of 1, that is a constant. D is the unknown, while b is this particular coefficient of the power of 1. So what we do here simply is we have our d here. D is already the unknown. So our b here will now be what? Minus 5 all over 2. The whole thing squared. The whole thing squared. So expand this, you now have d minus 5 over 2, the whole thing squared. So that will be the answer for this particular expression. Just like we have x plus 3 raised to the power 2, x plus 3 in bracket raised to the power 2, we now have d minus 5 over 2 raised to the power 2. So that will be the answer if we're asked to solve this expression to give us this by using this formula. This is the formula that we use. You can also use this formula in this expression and you get your answers correctly. So that's all I have for today's video. Please, if you found this video helpful, give it a like and a thumbs up. Also, if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. Please also hit the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I drop another video. So thank you and see you next time.